The ANTPY-2 is a radar system that connects to a bunch of different air defense launchers and provides these launchers with second-by-second monitoring as to where they need to fly in the air to directly intercept the missiles that are en route. There are many of these launchers connected to these ANTPY-2s all across the region and the world, but there are only 10 radars. Without the radars, the launchers are pretty much useless. Iran has now wiped out every one of America's elite ANTPY-2 air defense radars used for THAAD systems in Arab countries. The UAE's 2 ANTPY-2 radars have been destroyed. Jordan's 1 ANTPY-2 radar was destroyed, and Saudi Arabia's ANTPY-2 radar was destroyed. If those Arab monarchies don't want to kick them out themselves, Iran is going to do it for them. Iran has basically crushed each and every last radar in the region. And this is very important because once you take out the radars, how are these Gulf countries, how is the US, how is Israel, how are these places going to defend themselves? It's worth noting also that when it comes to the Israeli military bases, you know, like the quote-unquote most highly protected, impenetrable air bases on the face of the earth in the middle of the Negev desert, like, we are not going to see any photos or videos coming out of these locations which are being hit. And they were hit quite a bit yesterday. We saw a lot of video of ambulances and firefighters responding to some of these strikes on the Israeli military bases in the desert, Shin Bet HQ, other military intelligence headquarters. But we are not going to see any videos or photos of this. What we're seeing right now is extremely limited when it comes to the targets anywhere in the Gulf countries, in Israel. We know Bahrain is giving people the death sentence if they in fact are caught recording or photographing any of these strikes. The UAE is arresting people. I don't know if Saudi is. I think they may have. I know the UAE has arrested like 30 foreign nationals, tourists in the country, and several citizens. And Israel, of course, will prosecute you if you're doing this. And everything is very, very constricted, very, very censored right now. Despite how censored things are, we have seen quite a bit, which goes to show that, you know, things are not going well, and it's much worse than we even know. We also know for a fact that the United States is delaying satellite imagery, in some cases up to 14 days. And the satellite imagery over bases which have been hit, they're trying to blur out the details so no one can see like the extent of the damage on these radar systems, HQs, bases, command centers which are being hit. But let's just go through a few of these, right? We know that the U.S. Navy 5th Fleet Command and Control Center was hit in Bahrain in the first opening days of the war. Shahed 136 scored a direct strike against this massive radar system. Actually, there were 2 massive radar systems which ended up getting taken out here. They damaged the $1.6 billion American radar in Qatar that is the largest early warning detection radar system that the U.S. has to offer. Can, you know, detect any missiles from 5,000 kilometers away, and they took that one out. The real damage to the radar systems has been the attacks on the ANTPY-2 radars, which are used for U.S. THAAD systems, okay? And there are only a grand total of 10 U.S.-made ANTPY-2 radars on the face of the planet. Only 10. And this is an image of one of them, which was taken out at the Mulfaq Salti Air Base in Jordan. Keep in mind, at the start of the conflict, the U.S. Air Force placed most of their precious, air assets in the Mulfaq Air Base in Jordan because they assumed Iran wouldn't be able to bomb it, or they wouldn't want to use their, medium to long range ballistic missiles on Jordan, and rather they would use it to target Israel. And they thought like, oh, Iran doesn't have enough missiles, so they're going to use them all on Israel or something like that. I actually know they've been using them to target just about everything in the region, and they have plenty. So this is what the U.S. is doing this is what Iran is doing to the ANTPY-2 radars. Now, the reason why these are so important is because the U.S. has a layered air defense and radar system that they utilize for all sorts of different attacks, small range attacks, small range missiles, drones, ballistic missiles, high altitude missiles, whatever it may be, right? The ANTPY-2 is a radar system that connects to a bunch of different air defense launchers and provides these launchers with second-by-second monitoring as to where they need to fly in the air to directly intercept the missiles that are en route. Again, there are many of these launchers connected to these ANTPY-2s all across the region and the world, but there are only 10 radars. Without the radars, the launchers are pretty much useless. So basically, all Iran has to do is strike these radars. And I guess the U.S. thought that because, they claim that the Iranians are a bunch of cave-dwelling, knuckle-dragging apes, that they would never be able to target these ANTPY-2 radars. But that's exactly what they did. Okay? So let's take a look here at exactly what they hit. That's another image of the Jordan radar. Iran has now wiped out every one of America's elite ANTPY-2 air defense radars used for THAAD systems in Arab countries. The UAE's 2 ANTPY-2 radars have been destroyed. Jordan's 1 ANTPY-2 radar was destroyed, and Saudi Arabia's ANTPY-2 radar was destroyed. I believe Turkey has 1 or 2 of them. And I think there was one in Japan or South Korea, and I think that they're now trying to take that to the region to try and protect these U.S. bases in the Gulf. Iran has also destroyed a key $300 million radar system crucial to directing U.S. military defense batteries in the Gulf that risk further straining the region's ability to counter future attacks. We also had, this was last night, a drone attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, which resulted in severe damage to an Israeli-produced RPS-42 radar, which is part of the American SAM system designed to intercept missiles, small projectiles, and drones. So that was on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. That is huge, that the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, not just a radar system, also a sniper position, was bombed by Iraqi militia groups. The strike caused a 40% loss in the system's ability to identify and engage targets. I saw photos today while we were live of U.S. Embassy personnel trying to establish or repair I think they're trying to establish some sort of a new radar in that same location. Let me just tell you, this radar is absolutely massive that they took out, because there's photos of little men standing around the radar trying to put a new one there. And they look super tiny in comparison to the radar. We also saw that Israel's most precious radar systems have been destroyed. This was very interesting because we don't get much of any footage or photos from any sort of Israeli security systems, bases, defense systems, radars, anything like that. But the damage was so total that I guess that it took everything out and it was abandoned so they could film it. And at the same time that all of these, radar systems are being taken out, the U.S. has burned through years of critical munition since the start of the war, according to the Financial Times. Officials are especially worried about the stocks of Tomahawk missiles, THAAD interceptors, and Patriot missiles. Now, the reason why it's so important, the Tomahawk question, is because these carrier strike groups, they're not going to be doing any sort of, at sea based resupplying, restocking of their Tomahawk missiles. So the question really is, how many of these Tomahawks do they have on board these ships? Not a lot, and they've used a lot of them. So what does that mean for the seaworthiness of these ships amid continued attacks? That's why they are retreating in part. They're withdrawing from their previous positions to safer locations. So just to give you a little bit of an update, I read out to you while we were live here. We've been live for 2 hours now. And while we were live, we have seen relentless attacks, and the attacks are not stopping. It's absolutely insane how much is going on since we were just alive, while we were live here. We have attacks on American air bases in Baghdad. We have attacks on American bases in Baghdad again. I think there was like 6 different attacks on American bases in Iraq. Infiltration operation inside American base in Baghdad. Maybe we'll announce it today with the video. This is from Naya for Iraq, which is associated with the resistance in Iraq. We have Kurdish terrorist opposition district in the Erbil Governorate attacked several times. Victoria base attacked several times. Kingdom of Bahrain, Doha airport attacked several times. We have, and that's in Kuwait. Erbil province attacked several times. Kiryat Shimona attacked. Gadir attacked in the north of Israel by Hezbollah. We have Bahrain, Prince Sultan Air Base attacked by ballistic missiles. Kuwait was attacked. I mean, like, all of that was attacked while we were alive. So it just goes to show how relentless these attacks are. And yesterday I wrote this: U.S. bases and assets in the UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia were all bombed over the last few hours. These strikes on U.S. bases have been relentless every day, multiple times per day since the war began. And I would say that over the past 48 hours, there's been a serious uptick in the attacks on these bases because a lot of the radar systems have now been taken out. Despite receiving little to no media attention, local Telegram channels are reporting everything. I encourage you all to follow Naya, Naya, for Iraq on Telegram if you want to stay up to date with all these updates, because they provide all of them, and it's no fluff. It's just giving you the minute by minute updates, second by second updates. The U.S. is also hiding the damage by censoring locals from posting videos and delaying satellite imagery. For example, over the last 30 minutes, this was last night, Saudi Arabia was hit by ballistic missiles. Eastern Saudi Arabia was hit by suicide drones. U.S. base in Kuwait was hit with suicide drones. Bahrain was hit with large explosions. Hezbollah drones penetrated Israel from the north. And we are seeing all of that and much more tonight. And then, what was it? Within 20 minutes, we saw after that tweet 6 more missiles hit Bahrain, another suicide drone on the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. It is actually endless. Scenes from the 49th wave of Operation True Promise 4 as the IRGC initiates a coordinated strike sequence using missiles and attack drone swarms. We're seeing an increase of Iranian and Lebanese missile and drone attacks on Israel. Last afternoon, Iran time, we saw a huge Iranian Hezbollah attack using drones and missiles on Israel, which resulted in extensive damage. The wave targeted American military infrastructure. We're now talking about the 49th wave of Operation True Promise 4, including Al Dhafra Air Base in Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Issa Air Base in Bahrain, and U.S. helicopter facilities near Al Adad in Kuwait. Also, French helicopter base in Iraq was also hit pretty damn hard by the Iraqi militia groups. Today, we saw that the Owens oil company has actually shut down their operations. And the Owens oil company is owned by the Barzani family, head of the Kurdish terrorist opposition. And they've shut down their oil company because they've been hit so hard relentlessly for 2 weeks now by the Iraqi militia groups. We also saw reported strikes on radar systems, runways, aircraft hangars, and fuel storage sites. Americanitz writes, having failed to pay any attention to the war on Ukraine, Americans have been forcibly taught the following lessons over the past 2 weeks. Ballistic missile defense is largely a meme. Cheap long-range attack drones are borderline impossible to fully suppress, easy to make in unimaginable quantities, and extremely dangerous. The following lessons are still unlearned for the U.S. military as of now. Amphibious landings in the era of drone warfare are suicidal. FPV drones allow even an inferior enemy to hunt your infantry and armored vehicles down with shocking precision. Yes, they do. And while the U.S. State Department is grappling with the fact that all of their embassies and consulates are getting blown to smithereens, we have statements now. They're trying to issue a $10 million reward for anyone who provides information on Mojtaba Khamenei and Ali Larijani. Meanwhile, Larijani was walking the streets of Tehran today. I don't know. If they don't know where Larijani is and he's walking on the streets of Tehran with all the other ministers and security officials and the president of Iran with like millions of other Iranians, and they're trying to provide $10 million like bounties to give information up on these guys. What is the State Department doing? Maybe focus on your embassies and consulates, which are getting blown up right now, instead of some random bullshit like this. Here's a video of Sergeant First Class Corey Hicks expressing his gratitude after surviving the devastating Iranian drone attack in Kuwait, which resulted in the deaths of at least 6 U.S. military personnel.
I remember turning my head to the left and I seen the nose of that drone.
Wow, Descendant of Loki, thank you so much for the 10 gifted super chats. W's in the chat for Descendant of Loki. Real one. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it.
I remember turning my head to the left and I seen the nose of that drone pop through. And as soon as it did, I knew what it was. It was either a missile or a drone. So I turned to my right, and that's when it blew up and just blew the whole building apart. Kind of looked around and I saw everything was just smoke and fire and crazy and chaos.
Those drone strikes killing 6 of his fellow soldiers, including Master Sergeant Nicola Moore, who was a mother of 2.
She was literally 5 feet from me when that happened. I think when I looked over my left shoulder, the drone impacted basically right above her.
Hicks is now recovering at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Maryland. He does expect to be in the hospital for the next 3 weeks, but he's grateful to be alive.
That's Sergeant First Class Corey Hicks talking about the fact that, all of his fellow soldiers were killed in Kuwait. 6 of them were killed in Kuwait. They died in Operation Epstein Fury, fighting against Iran for Israel, protecting the Bahrain bullshit government that's, brutally represses its people and whatnot. It's all just it's just very fake and gay, everything that's happening. This was all, of course, predicted by Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane. He said this was all going to happen. He warned Trump. Trump didn't care. He said, we'll be fine. Americanitz writes, the Iranian missile campaign against Israel seems to have shifted over the past few days to extensive targeting of Israeli Air Force bases. We should expect nothing more than rumors and distant smoke plumes as indicators of how this campaign is going. There will be no on-site footage and almost certainly no satellite imagery. While they provided images of locations like Ben Gurion as late as the 27th of February, Mizar Vision stopped publishing imagery of Israel as soon as the war began. Make your own inference as to why. I will also add that as we were live, we also had, and since I last read what had happened since we were live, we have more attacks on the Kurdish terrorist opposition in Suleimania, northern Iraq, and also a very interesting message from Naya for Iraq, again, Telegram channel associated with the Iraqi resistance militant groups, PMF associated groups. They said, our dear audience, you will soon hear the sound of an explosion near the Baghdad airport. We confirm that this is not an operation by the Iraqi resistance, but rather part of the activities of the Baghdad Operations Command to dismantle an American missile launched by its air defense system near Baghdad airport. So, look, it's not getting better anytime soon for the U.S. The radars are not magically going to turn back on and come back to life. And this war is not going to end without the U.S. leaving the entire Persian Gulf. I mean, there's no other way to spin it. This war cannot end without the U.S. getting kicked out of Bahrain, Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and maybe more countries than just that. And if those Arab monarchies don't want to kick them out themselves, Iran is going to do it for them. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.